The problems for those residents began with a fire on the night of June 1st, when 5 cars of a Missouri Pacific freight train jumped the tracks. 16 persons were injured, most of them from flying debris in the explosion that followed the derailment. Because of the danger of additional explosions, authorities evacuated the area, and when residents were reluctant to leave their homes, they were told the burning ethylene gas was poisonous. The city manager's office later issued an authoritative report which indicated this was not true, that the ethylene fumes actually were harmless. But for these people, the city manager's report made no difference. Most of them still were convinced they were suffering from gas fumes. For Mrs. Janie McLennan, it was a loss of energy, a fear that even driving her car was dangerous because she might fall asleep. For Elbert Robinson, the problem was a strange cough and an itching skin. And for Mrs. Corine Blair, it was all that and more.
And on my ears began to peel, and just peels of skin was being pulled from my ears. And it itched. It's like my ears were coming off. The back, the front, all behind my neck, under my neck, all my face, my cheeks, and my eyes, in each corner of my eyes, and underneath my eyes, and my eyes ran water all the time.
The residents of this area now have had plenty of time in which to see a physician about their symptoms, and Channel 8 News talked with a black doctor who has examined many of them, a physician, though, who prefers at this time not to be identified. He said it is his medical opinion that none of these people have been suffering from ethylene gas fumes, that their physical problems really are more mental than anything else. He attributed their ills to what he called anxiety over the derailment and fire. And so Channel 8 News has been able to find no evidence, either medical or scientific, to support those claims of ailments associated with ethylene gas fumes. But whether or not this will be accepted by the people involved remains to be seen. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Well, I hate to speculate in advance or assume that they will deny it. We feel it's based on solid grounds, and I don't want to pre-guess what the court may do with it at that point. But if they refuse to rehear, will there be an action for a delay? We're giving consideration to asking for a stay of the court's order. That question hasn't been finally decided at this point.
I think Zan and I basically have the same philosophies. I think the only difference is that I will probably be spending much more time with staff, with the subcommittees of the TEC, and I'm going to be visiting a lot more schools, a lot more classrooms, making a lot more appearances in the community, the overall community, all segments of the community. But as far as Zan's performance, if I can do half the job that he did, I'll be satisfied.
Well, temporarily, if the schools are de-annexed, we would ask the city of Dallas to come in and help bus some of the children into the Dallas Independent School District, such as Skyline and some of the high schools and the other nearby elementary schools if necessary, so that we wouldn't have the children going 2 sessions, like from 7 to 12 and from 1 until 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Because that's what will happen if that happens, the de-annexation comes about.
Well, it's very difficult to say because I think some of the other teams played some fine games. The most important thing, I guess, about this team is the fact that it has posted the best record of any team in history. The fact that we have played 11 games and only lost 1 in 11 matches, and I just pointed out that since 1924, Olympic soccer teams has only won 2 matches. So from a record standpoint, it has accomplished more than any soccer team in Olympic history. As far as comparing, I've seen some of the other teams, and it might be a little bit difficult to compare. However, I like to think that this team is made up of a bunch of young fellows who love to play soccer. They enjoy playing it. They're willing to work, and they're a scrappy, gutty type which don't know the word quit.
If you heard it once today, you heard it 10 times. The Dallas Police Department is ready for change. Well, it had better be, because 2 of these graduating cadets are going to tax the broad-mindedness of the patrol division. Mr. Nagel, you're a special agent with the FBI, but how do you feel about your daughter, Barbara, being the first patrolwoman in Dallas?
Well, it was quite a surprise when she announced to us that she was going into police work to begin with, but really we're very pleased and quite happy about this, and I think this is a marvelous opportunity for her and for the rest of the gals to follow.
I see. And Barbara, if I could interrupt that shot just a minute, that was a pretty good shot. But what would you do if a big 6-foot man jumped you? What would you do then?
Well, legally, I wouldn't be able to shoot him at that time, but I'd try and disable him the best way I could.
How do you think that police wives are going to feel about their husbands being your partner?
Possibly reluctant at first, but when they find out that we're out there for business and not to play, we hope that they'll change their minds.
What about the men's attitude? Do they resent you or feel like you're going to be the weak link?
Well, that's hard to say until we can really get out there and prove ourselves. But we'll try and prove to them that we're not the weak link and that they are not going to have to be out there just watching over us.
Dallas Police Chief Frank Bison has made it very clear that putting females on patrol is a pilot project. These policewomen are very well aware that they're on trial to prove that women are as capable of making arrests as they are of doing paperwork. Martha McIntire, Channel 8 News on the Move.
"17 police cadets were graduated in ceremonies today, including 1 woman jail matron after 6 months training. The graduation will fill half of the current vacancies in the Fort Worth Police Department authorized by the City Council. That raises their strength to 668. But according to the accepted national average, Fort Worth should have at least 1,000 policemen. In percentages, the city has 1.6 officers per 1,000 persons. The national average is 2.6 per 1,000. I asked Herbert Hopkins, Deputy Chief in charge of police training, if he expects the department to reach the recommended full strength any time in the future.
Well, Jim, we aren't expecting to in the near future, and I suppose based on the city economy, it'll be sometime in the distant future rather than right away. I would hope certainly that in the years to come that we would come up to the national average, but presently we don't see any hope for it.
Another major problem which the 17 new officers face is low pay. With the financial problems of the City Council, that situation is expected to exist a long time, too. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move in Fort Worth.
Here's a reminder, entries for the 2 grand prizes tonight must be filled out and handed to the usher. celebrated about as fumes, derailment,
Barbara Vandeventer and Norma Ferguson are the first women in the history of the Dallas Police Department to be assigned patrol duty. After 4 months of training like this, next week they'll go out on night patrol. Barbara's father finds it hard to believe.
The final general meeting of the Shriners this morning in the Statler Hilton heard the newly installed imperial potentate Henry Strube of Evansville, Indiana, urge bigger and better things for the organization. The grand ballroom was not nearly as full or noisy as it has been on past occasions. Many of the conventioneers have ended their stay in Dallas. Such is the case here at the Sheraton Dallas. This is one of 2 or 3 of the largest conventions ever held in the city of Dallas. I asked a couple of the conventioneers what they think of Dallas as a convention city.
Well, Dallas is one of the finest cities. I have been for the past 27 years in most of those conventions with. But this is the finest, the largest, the biggest attendance, the finest service, and friendliness all over.
I want to tell you that the hospitality here has really been great, and we want to thank everybody in Dallas for making us a warm place for us to come to.
What do you think of Dallas as a convention city?
Oh, Dallas is a terrific center. We've had an awful lot of fun here with the Shriners.
It'll be a while before you see fezzes like this in the abundance that you've seen them in Dallas for some time to come. The convention is scheduled for next year in Atlanta, Georgia. I guess to sum up the words of the conventioneers that I talked to about what they think of Dallas as a convention city, they said, "We've enjoyed the whole thing." Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Sheraton Dallas.
The church's purpose is to bring Christ to people in all circumstances. A business purpose is to bring some product that they have or some service they have. And so we have a different commodity to offer. Ours, we feel, is a very essential commodity for all people. I presume businessmen do too. As to the organization themselves, one very definite difference, which many times is not recognized until pointed out and then very readily seen, is that a church is a volunteer organization. Everyone who belongs to it is there of his own will.
Bob Strauss, the treasurer of the National Democratic Party, is, of course, also a prominent Texan, a close friend of John Connally's, and a man who has really been in the hot seat this past week. Mr. Strauss, now that McGovern is the nominee, what happens in the Texas Democratic Party?
Well, it presents some problems, unquestionably, but it also has some pluses in it. George McGovern is not an ideal Texas candidate. You know that as well as I do. We don't need to kid about that. I'm going to support him. Most Democrats will support him. There'll be some slippage there, and it'll be hard to. They'll be hard at work trying to stop it. So you will have slippage and problems. But on the other side, he attracts a lot of new people to our party. A lot of young people will come in and get active, who'll get concerned again, who'll get involved again. And our party will be the beneficiary of that. So there are pluses and there are minuses. first day after a convention is over or a nomination is over, it's too quick really to assess anything. You need a week or two to let the pieces begin to fall into place.
Were you surprised last night when Dolph Briscoe cast his vote for George Wallace?
Well, I really hadn't given it much thought. I guess I might have been surprised, but not shocked.
It's been said that the Democrats may not only have nominated a Democratic presidential nominee, but also a Republican vice presidential nominee last night, John Connally. You're close to John Connally. Would this drive him to that kind of a goal?
Oh, I have no knowledge about that. I don't think that has any real effect on it. I think if President Nixon asked John Connally, it'll be in a positive way, not because of something that happened over here. It'll be because he knows he's one of the ablest men in the country, if not the ablest, in the minds of many. And
has Connally become a Republican now?
Well, you say now. First, I haven't talked to John in a couple of weeks, and I see in the press he said he thought it quite likely he would assist the president in his re-election, and I suspect that's true. That was his comment, not mine. I try not to speculate on John's business for a number of reasons. One is, anything I know something about, I wouldn't want to violate his confidence, and things I don't, I'm definitely a lot better off not speculating about it.
Certainly procedures are such that with the added materials that have been allowed to come in here, with the in regard to court orders.
We still don't have hacksaws coming in cakes, do we?
No. Well, I don't think you could really say no. We don't have cakes, and that's probably the only reason that they're not coming in cakes. But it is fairly easy to get in here in terms of not being able to shake down every person that comes in the jail. They can be left on the outside and then picked up and later moved into tanks.